I'm Shar and welcome to Twist and Shout. Please subscribe to my channel for future content about faith, marriage, parenting, and of course hair. God bless. Alright, so we're here to talk about the forbidden grease plus hair lotion plus oil plus pomade. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and shoot with the disclaimer. Grease ain't bad. Grease ain't harmful. Grease been working for years. Petroleum is not necessarily harmful. Mineral oil is not necessarily harmful. They actually aid with the other ingredients. That's why they were added. Because none of us are scientists, right? I'm just kidding. But yeah. I just want to start with the disclaimers first. And even though I am biased towards one or the other, and I'll tell you why, I'm going to make sure this video is as least biased as possible by stating facts. Okay? Now, me personally, my preference is oil and hair lotion, right? Y'all know. Y'all been following me. Y'all know. However, I grew up on hair grease or hair dressing or hair food, however you want to call it. Now, I would say, in case you're wondering, the difference that I've seen so far, hair food tends to pack all the ingredients into just one item, right? And hair grease, as you may or may not have noticed when you go in the store, like with Blue Match or Ultra Sheen or Softy, they tend to have preferences like, okay, if you have a scalp problem, if you have a growth problem, if you have a thickening problem, if you have a moisture, they tend to be categorized, whereas hair food tends to just throw everything in there like, okay, you shouldn't want or need for anything after using this product. Pomade appears to be the sophisticated version of hair grease, meaning, because a lot of people complain about mineral oil and petroleum, so pomade, from what I've seen and the ones I looked at, tend to take those two ingredients away and just kind of add a bonus like shea butter or coconut oil, or something that will smooth the ingredients into your hair just like petroleum or mineral oil would, without the scare of clogging pores. Now, this is my opinion, because like I said, I'm no scientist. I'm going based on my experience and what I know and what I've read and what I've seen. I think that the mineral oil and petroleum gel aren't harmful, and I'll tell you why. Because think about when you make an oil, right? You put the ingredients or you add things within the oil so that in the moisturizing oil so that your hair can absorb it. But we all know, science-based and proven, that your hair only takes in a certain amount and the rest is wasted. This is how I feel about the petroleum jelly or the mineral oil being added in the hair grease. And this is why I say hair grease to the scalp is probably going to be my future preference, is because the mineral oil and petroleum, because if you know petroleum gel, like, it sticks to whatever it's on. Like, if you put it on your grease, your hands, it's there. It's not going anywhere. Here's my opinion. The nutrients and stuff that's in the grease / petroleum jelly will hold still until the hair actually wants it. Make sense? Like, it's not just going to throw it away, because it can't go anywhere, because the petroleum is going to hold it in place. And this is why grease is meant to be applied to the scalp. Or depending on what kind, it could be like to thicken in your hair. You maybe want to put it towards the hair strand, but most of it is aimed towards the scalp. So that's what I think. I say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, it actually will hold it there and holding nutrients in place until the hair actually needs it. And if anybody knows, old school, new school, grease lasts a long time on the scalp, whereas when you do the oil, you're like, didn't I just oil my hair the other day? So some people have to do every day. Some people have to do every other day. Some people do maybe every 2 days. But I'm pretty positive you're going to have to add that oil way more than anticipated with hair grease or pomade. Another thing I would like to address, there seems to be this big scare or big thing or big no-no about clogging pores and, blocking and being heavy and too heavy to wash out. As someone who has grown up, I'm 30 years old, and I have grown up on hair grease almost my entire life. I have never had an issue with washing grease out my hair. There are clarifying, cleansing shampoos that you don't have to reach for the ones with sulfate, because I've seen that somewhere too, to cleanse your hair and your pores. That's not true. I've never had an issue where I'm washing my hair and I felt like the grease did not remove itself, because again, usually you only have to add the grease once or twice in between your hair washes, and that can easily be washed out. And just like with washing, because I've seen this too, you have people who believe you only wash the ends of your hair, you don't wash your scalp. But my opinion is, if it's dirty, it needs to be clean. And the only way to cleanse it is with a cleanser. So your scalp needs to be washed just as much as the ends of your hair does, because not only are you adding stuff on top of your hair, but your own scalp is producing oils and sebum. Some needs to stay, some needs to be washed away. It's that simple. And not including things of the environment, air deposits or dust or cotton and things in your covers and your sheets and pillowcases. Those things kind of accumulate after a while. And if you remember when you was little and you do the little rubber bands, you'll see how much dirt and dust will gather around the hair on the outside, what's exposed, just from being in the environment alone. If you've been watching my video, you need to go look at the growth challenge and the Suffer 8 and Do Grow video. I've been trying to grow my hair and I've been suffering from postpartum shedding. I did, in fact, create my own herbal oil that worked tremendously around my edges and overall making sure my hair doesn't shed. Now, I would say, in my opinion, throughout the whole process, my hair grew, but not so much as nourishing the scalp versus actually retention. However, when I started this growth, within 7 days of using hair grease, Suffer 8 mixed with Do Grow, my hair actually grew. My daughter hair actually grew. Hello, grease is your friend. Don't be a hater. It grows your hair. It stays in place for longer periods of time. It's affordable. And I seen a video the other day on YouTube. Young lady was talking. I said, she's read my mind. It's just that you want to be careful about speaking about racism and things that could be offensive to the natural hair community or the businesses that actually support them. Now, like I said, this is my opinion. Don't take it and run with it unless you actually agree. And please comment below if you have anything to say, positive or open-minded, I would say. No negative comments. But it seems like every time we gravitate towards something, have you noticed, and when I say we, I mean African Americans, the price goes up. Or the ingredients change. Now, we all know that business is supply and demand, right? So when people start kicking this, oh, I ain't got time for grease, have you noticed that there hasn't been any new grease? Like, you may have some grease that, because of the complaints, like Do Grow, I noticed that they have added like an olive oil, avocado oil, something to please popular demand, because people are saying, hey, no grease for me, please. And even their hair lotion. And I've noticed things that we gravitate towards, like the Wet Line Extreme Gel, ingredients change. Hair lotions, greases, oils, ingredients change. Hair products, ingredients change. And it almost seems like when we find that something is actually working for us, it has to change. Like I said, it may just be me, but this is what I'm noticing. I remember one thing in particular, Jamaican black castor oil, Bay. Everybody, is a universal oil that works for everybody. However, when it seems that it has grown in popularity in YouTube as far as African American natural 4C hair, it seems like the price went up. And I pay attention to prices a lot because when I'm buying stuff, I'm going for the best dollar. So if I have to leave this store and go next door to save $2, I would do that. And I noticed when I was deciding between the Jamaican Black Castor Oil, there's the Kuza brand that's found in like Roses and other stores, and it's the what is it, mango and lime Jamaican Black Castor Oil, that brand, and that one's in Walmart. And I noticed at first it was only $5 and some change. Comment if you remember. And now it is $8. Wow. And what's interesting, because competing stores like Dollar General, FYI, has the same exact content, volume, same everything. It's the exact same product for $6. So guess where I'm getting mine from? You guessed it. So that's just something that I say just think about. And again, since we're here to talk about, you know, the differences of grease and oils, I would say the biggest difference for me is the difference between adding a oil or water or petroleum and mineral. Now, some brands actually have the same thing for the same products. The Do Grow hair grease, or vitalizers as they call it, but it's just hair grease. Their ingredients for their grease and their hair lotion is identical, plus or minus water, right? And even with the Softy growth oil, and you know they have a Herbal Grow hair grease, again, plus or minus the mineral or the petroleum. And again, I believe that's just to hold the nutrients in place, versus the oil, which is, it has moisturizing and sealant oils in it. It actually goes and absorbs into your hair. Now, some may say that's actually better, but again, the whole thing is what works better over an extended period of time, or what's more convenient at the moment. Now, something, for example, like getting braids or cornrows and having weave tracks or wigs, you may say the oil makes sense because you don't have to worry about digging in there, because the oil will actually travel to where it has to go. Whereas if you have your hair in an out state, or like a bun or something that you can actually manipulate often, like how I'm doing, you can go for the hair greases. And this is a particular one I actually bought for my husband, because this one is the Blue Magic Bergamot Hair and Scalp Conditioner, Nourish Your Hair and Scalp. And bergamot is very good for dry, itchy, irritating scalp. So this is why I choose this one. Before this one, he actually was using the Super Grow one. And I actually have also had experiences with the Indian Heat one. They all are wonderful. And again, they all work. Now, when I did my big chop, right, the asymmetrical cut, and I was like, you know, it was cool at first, but then I said, okay, the whole point was to get rid of the bad hair, and now I want my hair to actually grow back and flourish. So what I used to do is wash, condition my hair, leave in, and I would actually use the Cantu, Shea Butter, Tea Tree, and Jojoba hair and scalp oil. And as you can see, I finished this. Well, this is actually my second or third one, because I did repeat and buy it. But this was convenient because between my tracks, my sew-ins, I could still nourish my hair effectively and giving my hair exactly what it needs. Now, I will admit, when I start to get more deeper into studying and looking at YouTube gurus and all the people who have such great influences, who seems to get the greater lights and things, people weren't talking about grease. I thought I was doing something wrong, and I stopped. But I will say to you on camera, this is the reason why my hair actually grew back how it did. This right here. And I actually used the whole Cantu line. And I would say, out of all the products out there, I would say if you're transitioning, Cantu is it. They may say, hey, it has alcohol and stuff in it, but I believe in training your hair. Because when I first started, I had no curl pattern. I could not tell you whether I had high porosity, low porosity. I could not tell you, because my hair was just like just there. It wasn't thriving. It wasn't reacting to any of the new things I was trying. But Cantu actually helped train my hair in the direction that I wanted to go, because I knew I had good hair. I knew I had a good curl pattern, but I haven't seen it in so long. I thought I'd done something to, you know, get rid of that. And I actually did with the perms, and that's what caused me to do the big chop. So if you're wondering, I would say I am pro chop. Definitely cut your hair. Now, no, I have not cut my ends in a long time, but I am thinking about it. But I would say when it comes to wearing my hair like in curly style and stuff, you really can't tell that well. Versus like if I try to straighten my hair, you may see an inch that's like, you might want to get rid of that, sis. So thinking about it. But anywho, yeah, so like I said, there's things that has hair lotions and hair oils and greases all in the same line because they're trying to cater to everyone, or because certain things at certain times take certain texture of products. The entire time I was using grease of any sort when growing up, and even somewhat into college, what I could afford, I experienced the least amount of breakage. Why? Because again, the mineral oil and the petroleum actually holds on to your strands and give it that slip and that smoothness where they're not rubbing together, there's no tension, and it actually coats as a protection. Some people say the same thing about silicones. Now the only thing is, in my opinion, silicones tend to, unless they include some type of water in the product, or unless you're applying water or oil before including something with silicone, you actually can block your hair from obtaining what it needs over a period of time. That's my opinion. That's what people try to say about the petroleum, but I disagree because again, African American community, we put petroleum on our skin. It's in our skin products and our lotions, and they do no harm. Now, I will admit, in the wintertime, it does seem to act as a blocking of wind and coldness. So you may say, okay, that's blocking your pores. But I would say you don't see your skin falling off. You don't see your skin breaking out. You don't see your skin reacting negatively to adding petroleum into your grease, oils, or anything that you put on your skin and your legs and your arms. So how would that rule apply to your hair when your hair and your skin are pretty much made out of the same materials as far as proteins and minerals and vitamins? The grease that I grew up on, obviously I grew up on Softy. Like I said, my mom was more about affordable. She was not reading on what was good, what was bad. It was something she was familiar with, so she gravitated towards Softy. Now, when I got to middle school, I started going in the store with her, and you know, when you get a certain age, you start noticing things for yourself as far as hygiene and keeping your hair and what others may be using. So I remember I had a friend, and I asked her, I said, what grease you use? And I believe she said Ultra Sheen. And I remember going in the store looking at it, and I actually read the ingredients. I said, okay, that's no different than Softy. So I was like, I'm not, and it costs a little bit more. So I said, okay, I'm not going to make my mom do that. However, I did see this very sleek, stylish brand called Isoplus or Isoplus. And I got the castor oil one, and that became bae. I love the scent. It was lightweight, and it still appeared to get the job done. Now, we also start, you know, telling her, okay, or maybe I think one of us started having like dry hair or something, or our hair was breaking. So she did start getting a hair oil, and she got the Africa's Best hair oil. And it was another one, I believe I want to say African Pride maybe had one too. Now the African Best one was preference over the African Pride because it was so thick and so rich and so runny. And I know y'all remember them being in the store where even just picking them up, like the oil was already out the container, like it wasn't sealed right. It was just so messy, and I hated it. Man, I hated it. So I prefer the African Best over the African Pride one, but to me, there was kind of like one and the same. Like they both was real thick, real rich, and just and it was said to be for hair and skin. Now I would say in reference to skin, I probably should have, you know, used that mixed with petroleum for like the winter months, because I have troubles in the winter months with my skin. But for hair, it proved to be very heavy. It was just too much and very messy, and we had oil and stuff everywhere. But then there was the grease. The grease was good. It was okay. It was lightweight. I didn't have any problems. I would say my favorite altogether was definitely the Isoplus castor oil. And then my runner-up would be the mango butter from Softy. And then I would say probably between the coconut one and the herbal grow. Our hair grew, and this was something used between all my sisters, and I believe we all have a different texture of hair. Even with my daughter, like with me, you know, trying to do her regimen with my regimen, I did notice a dramatic difference between how her hair was acting when I stopped using grease and when I started trying to implementing like hair lotions and gels and things of that nature, her hair just like almost ceased to grow. It was almost like saying, hey, help me. I'm hungry. Feed me. And that's another thing, like listen to your hair. Your hair would gladly tell you what it wants and what it needs. And I would say before you go out and buy a haul just because somebody else is referencing, even with the hair grease, hey, if you find that oil is working for you, that's cool, that's fine. But I say, as for me, I feel a need or a desire for a little bit of both. My other video, you may have noticed I touched a little bit on hair butters and creams. Love them for the winter months because they're so thick and rich and they actually hold on to your hair and they last a very long time. This is one of my favorites, hair food. Like I said, this is between, it looks like a butter, but it comes out and you can spread it like grease. So that's why I'm actually showing this again to you guys, because it's actually called hair food. And again, most hair foods are more category or reference to the grease pomade side, because like the hair foods usually, like I said, this one says no artificial fragrances, no parabens, no petroleum, no salt, no sulfates, no synthetic dyes. So when it comes to hair foods, they kind of gravitate towards the vegan side, like not tested on animals, all good stuff, no added chemicals. So this is good stuff, and this can be applied to hair and scalp down your strands. Now obviously there are some things that you want to look for in hair grease and stuff. Like, get what you need. If you lack vitamin E, get the one that's enriched with vitamin E. If you lack dryness or scalp issue, get the one with sulfur in it or menthol, something to actually soothe your scalp. And it actually does work. I believe the greater mix between the Dew Grow and the Sulfur 8 is probably the Sulfur 8. And the Dew Grow just kind of mellows out things because this is heavily medicated. And they do have a light formula, which I think I'm going to pick up next. Just to see if it works equivalent to mixing the regular one. But and you know, dealing with oils, you can have a sealant oil or a moisturizing oil, and the difference just means that the sealant, just like a grease can be a sealant, just be the ending, the finishing touches to keep everything in. Or the moisturizing oil can be in between, you know, after you washing your hair, putting the oil in to kind of help hold on and moisturize before you actually add a finishing touch of products such as the cream or butter. Using grease mixed with like gels or jams, they tend to kind of be one and the same as far as ingredients, so they kind of just mush together. So it does make for a messy finish and it doesn't hold on because of the petroleum and the mineral oil. And that's something I noticed, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons, besides the texture and how it feels to me. It feels so icky and and the fact that grease does not mix well with a lot of things, like at all. And that's probably how oil became so popular, because it tends to just blend and weave right on into all other products and ingredients. And again, this is something new that I tried, because I didn't even pay this any mind. I just automatically thought because it was cheaper that it wasn't okay. But looking at the ingredients, and I'm insert a picture where the new growth, when I gave my daughter what's the hairstyle? Crochet, going back to school, and she kept it in for like almost 2 months, and we only put this on her scalp, and I'll show you her new growth. This stuff is good. And before that, I used this before I start experimenting, making my own. As you can see, it's almost gone, and I actually got a new bottle. And anti-breakage formula, a lot of people who have a preference of a very short and simple regimen use this. And I was using this on my daughter's hair. Her hair loves this stuff. Like, just wet it and put this on and style it. Her hair was just like, hallelujah. And this is the African Pride Olive Oil Miracle. And this is because like I said, the first African Pride oil, the real rich orange color, golden color, this definitely is a whole lot better and a great improvement to their first oil. Love it. But yeah, so as you can see, yes, my preference before was an oil because it was quick and easy and to the point. Once I started doing my own thing, but with transitioning and after the big chop, I went back to using this, and this was the only grease or petroleum type product that I was using, because I didn't care for any other greases or anything. Oh, one other one, I'm sorry. Okay, you know they got this scalp oil, because they say it's an oil because it actually does melt when it gets on your scalp, like as you can see in the bottle. They actually have a grease. That grease is good too, y'all. They call it hairdressing. Like that's just another word for hairdressing, pomade, grease, hair food. Like it's all the same. That grease, because before I found this, I was using the grease, and I made sure I did that before I went to the stylist. But if I was going to the stylist, I say, hey, when you braid, can you put this in there? You know, just for that added protection. And I love it. I love the smell. I love how it felt on my head. I'm in love. I loved it. I have no complaints. So that would be another favorite hairdressing or grease too. So again, please don't, like, even though I'm trying to influence you to be open-minded, please have your own mind and your own thoughts. Like, don't make it hard. Don't make it complicated. Don't just be anti this because somebody else says so. Try it for yourself. Like, I'm in love. Like I said, I'm gonna find a balance. Like, because I'm doing a challenge, I'm not doing any oils at all, not even my own. So I'm just sticking to the do-grow and stuff for 8. However, when February 1st get here, and it can't get here fast enough, I'm definitely gonna, you know, make sure I do my part in, you know, tending to my hair as needed. Like your ends needs to be tended to different than the middle section. The middle section needs to be tended to better than your scalp. Like, trust and believe. I know from experience, and as you see from the video with my mom, it doesn't take much. Man, they only had lard or oil, heat, water, and scratching with the braids or the twists. That's it. It wasn't complicated. I do truly believe that it's just a gimmick. It's just a thing that, okay, this is new, this is hot, I'm gonna get y'all money, and y'all falling for it. I fell falling for it. But I'm saying, you know, enough is enough. Going back to my roots, I'm going back to the basics. If I'm not gonna get it out the store, I'm probably gonna DIY it just to be safe and not to be sorry. So please learn. I do truly thank y'all for
We should take it slow. Oh, we're just ordinary people.